Hey there, I'm Jared Beavers,
And I'm Blair Beavers.
and we are the Doctor's Beavers. We're here to talk to you just a little bit about summer safety, taking care of your baby, your child, your small one during the course of the hot summer here in Arkansas. Just some helpful tips for families and friends and how to ensure that those kids stay safe through the summer.
First up is helmets. So the most important thing about any outdoor activity that has wheels is wearing a helmet. Our best advice is to start early and to be consistent as you do this. So they think it's fun and cool to get a helmet kind of when they're younger, and they get less cool as they get older. But if you're consistent, then it's something that becomes an expectation that they'll have to do. As you can see, our kids are very enthusiastic about wearing helmets on all types of devices. This little four-wheeler thingy, you don't necessarily have to wear helmets in, but on hills, it's probably a good idea, which is where they were at this point. Those things don't go very fast, but it's still good for them to be in the habit of doing that.
Yeah, anything with wheels that moves, and stuff. It's just better to wear a helmet and be safe. Even for the slower moving power wheels and things like that. If they're in the habit of it, they'll just do it. And it doesn't matter the surface they're riding on. If they're riding on pavement, gravel. If they're riding on the soft soil, whatever. It all just will help protect them and help keep you out of the emergency room. Should an accident happen, hopefully without any serious injury.
So next up is pools, and pool safety is a big issue in the summer. One of the only proven ways to protect kids from pool injury or from drowning is actual fences around the pool. Fences that lock, that are tall, that have something that you have to reach over into the top of as an adult and unlock the gate to get in. So that's one of the biggest things if you are staying at a lake house or going on vacation and staying somewhere that you're not used to. You can have pool alarms or door alarms that kind of alert you to that, but making sure that a fence is around the pool that you're going to be at the place that you're going to be staying, or at your home if you have a pool. The other thing is everybody always being supervised, nobody being in the pool by themselves. This is mostly for younger kids and babies as far as our talk is going, but even kids that are up into their teen years should really be supervised, just because they sometimes don't make the best choices in life. On the screen now, there's the puddle jumpers that are at the top. Some people don't love these. They're a great device to keep your kids kind of head above water and keep them in the correct position swimming, but they can hold their hands up above them and kind of slide out of them also, and they're pretty easy to get off, so you want to be supervising them. This other float that you see on the screen is, kind of a little float for an infant or a 1-year-old before they're ready to be in a puddle jumper or some other type of device. But you always need to be beside them in that also. They can't just be floating around, because if they were to fall out or slip through, or somebody was to knock them over, then they would be obviously at risk of drowning. Anything else you think?
Yeah, I think the person watching the kids in the pool, if it's one person or several people, we always make a point to say, we're not going to be looking at our phone and things like that when we're at the poolside. The person that's watching the kids needs to be keeping a careful eye on them. Drownings, most drownings are silent. It's not what you see in the movies, big thrashing, splashing around, kind of events. Most drownings actually occur when kids just slip beneath the water unnoticed, and it takes a second or two or even more to know that they're actually under the water. So the people watching need to be very, very careful and vigilant. So we say, no cell phones, out and stuff when you're supposed to be watching the kids in the pool, and minimizing other distractions as much as possible. You really need to have a pretty good ratio of adults to kids in the pool as well. If you've got several kids in the pool, especially if you're at a community pool and those sorts of things, having an extra set of eyes on those kids and stuff is a very handy way of making sure that they stay safe. And swim lessons are great, and I highly encourage swim lessons for all kids, to get acquainted and acclimated to water. But they are not proven to be safer than anything that prevents kids to getting to a pool. So fences, big barriers, things like that actually prevent kids getting access to the pool. That's the only thing that will help prevent drownings in the literature.
As far as the devices, these devices that we've shown here on the computer on the screen here, those are not to be used in a lake versus a pool. So those are safe for the pool, but they are not approved as like life-saving devices in a place that you can't see the bottom of, you don't know how deep you're at. So you want to reuse appropriate devices in appropriate places. The only other thing I would add is that they're, your likelihood of someone drowning actually goes up as there are more and more adults, because other people tend to think that somebody else is watching the kids.
That's right.
And so you really have to designate that person that is watching, or as you're walking away or going to do something, saying, hey, it's your turn to watch the kids for a little bit, or kind of making sure that somebody's there doing that job, whether that's hiring a lifeguard for a pool party or doing other things just to make sure everybody keeps safe, and people don't get distracted easily. Okay, sunscreens. This picture on the top with our children licking a pole is not really about, germ safety and the right thing to do during a pandemic. It's more to show that our kids and a couple of other friends there have on their long sleeves and sometimes long pants, just to protect them from the UV rays. Those rash guards save you stress. They save the amount of sunscreen you have to use and the wrestling of the children. You want to start early with these, be consistent, like we said with the helmets. And then for little kids that can't hold their breath, no sprays. And, if you're into the environment, then the sprays are not good for that either. But they are very easy to use. So you just want to be consistent. And we pretty much do long sleeves all the time because that is easiest for us and cuts down a lot on the amount of sunscreen we use.
Yeah, so mineral-based sunscreens, the kinds that are really thick, that go on really thick, stuff like that, and look a pasty white, or even purple, and stuff that fade to white when applied and stuff. Those are the things that are going to be really, really effective at preventing sunburns in kids. And remember, an early sunburn increases your risk for developing melanoma later on in life very significantly. And so we want to do a good job of protecting kids' skin. And making sure that they get reapplied, at least, every hour, if not a little bit sooner, especially if they're in wet activities where that sunscreen can wear off. So reapplying frequently, it's definitely a pain in the tuchus, but it's worth the fight. It's worth the fight to make sure that they don't get injured from sunlight. You said being really consistent about that. So, boat safety, lake safety, that's all extremely important, especially here in Arkansas, where we have access to so many lakes and bodies of water. So any moving body of water, so rivers, creeks, lakes, anything like that, kids need to be wearing a Coast Guard approved life jacket. Remember, some of these places, have really, really deep water. It's impossible to see just how deep it can go. And so kids slipping beneath the water, that could be a really bad situation in a lot of lakes and river scenarios. You want to use especially on the smaller ones, you want to use a life jacket that actually has a strap that passes between the legs that prevents them from sinking down into the life jacket and coming out of it, especially if you're moving via a boat. And also, we make a point to be still on a moving boat, a moving vehicle and stuff on the water. Here you see the kids kind of peering over the edge and stuff, and that's while you're anchored and just afloat. But while the boat is moving, making sure that everybody is sitting down, not moving inside the cab or inside the walls of the vehicle, just ensuring that they don't have as easy of a chance or easy of an opportunity to kind of fly out. That's all very, very important.
We actually had a scenario. It's important this past summer, for the kids to always have their life jackets on. I believe in Arkansas, the rules of when you're above 13 or 14, you don't have to wear a life jacket all the time, only on, inner tube skiing, those types of things. But anybody underneath that age needs to have a life jacket on at all times. And so that is what we do all the time, and that is the kids' expectation. And with this summer, we actually had one of a boat we were on actually start to catch on fire. And so we literally just took the kids, slowed down, stopped, and just chunked them out. But you can't do that if the kid doesn't have a life jacket on. And the nervousness and the stress that involved was much lessened by the fact that our kids had life jackets on. We took them, we threw them, they jumped, and they swam as far as they could, as fast as they could away from the boat. But that was a good reinforcement of why we do what we do. And it was a scary thing and turned out fine, but it's just a good reinforcement of why you always wear your life jacket.
That's right. Part of parenting is controlling what you can control and preparing for things that you can't. So,
all right, babies. So, babies, they come when they want to, and, sometimes you already have trips planned, as this one over here on the left. But that's about a 3-month-old at the beach with her long sleeve rash guard on, her hat on. She is under the umbrella in the shade. The biggest thing with babies is knowing that you don't put sunscreen on them, anybody roughly underneath 6 months, just because their skin is so much more likely to have rashes and to react and so much more sensitive. You always want to have long sleeves or long pants on them. You want to have a hat on them. You want to be in the shade at all times. They can sunburn so quickly. You want to avoid the sun between about 10 and 2, early mornings, late afternoons, and under the shade during that time. And then you want to be aware that they can get dehydrated. And so you want to go for short bits and not be super hot outside while you're out, because you really shouldn't give any babies under this age, especially 4 months old, any actual water to try to hydrate them. So you just need to keep them out of the sun more than anything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think yeah, staying cool. Various methods of that. Being in the shade. One of our friends told us about setting up a little inflatable pool underneath the shade. At the beach, and I thought that was genius. Just filling it with a little bit of water and stuff, so that they could sit and splash around and have their own little space to play. It also helps rinse off some sand, because inevitably they'll get a little bit of sand on them. Another cool tip, for getting sand off, especially if you're at the beach and stuff, is to use just a little bit of baby powder, and just kind of, but just gently baby powder, avoiding, getting powder and stuff around the face, but powdering the legs and stuff to get all that sand loose. It actually just comes right off because it dries it out so fast. But yeah, so babies, we just want to make sure that we're nice and safe, and again, just well supervised, and that's one of the biggest things. But just watching that eating and drinking, making sure that they stay hydrated, and in addition to being in the shade, no direct sunlight. The next thing we talk about is bug spray, because I think everybody in Arkansas has experienced lovely chiggers, ticks, and mosquito bites and stuff, and it is an inevitability. But minimizing the number of exposures from those things help prevent exposures to other diseases and stuff like Rocky Mountain spotted fever and Lyme disease and West Nile virus and all these wonderful little bugs that some of these insects carry. So the best way to do that is with sunscreen. Here pictured is some bullfrog. I love this stuff. This is actually what I use at the house, and I'm not in any way sponsored by Bullfrog, although I wish I was. And the reason I like this is it because it contains both sunscreen and bug repellent. And so it's nice to apply, and I know I'm going to be working outside or just spending a little bit more time outside. I can just do a one-stop, spray and be done. Up to 40% DEET is actually safe for children a year and above. That's deep woods off. That's kind of one of the stronger, if you will, bug sprays and stuff on the market. And again, you want to hit those exposed areas. You don't have to coat them from head to toe, but certainly across the back of the neck, the arms and the legs, even, kind of underneath the neck and stuff. That will help keep those bugs away and keep those bug bites from happening quite so frequently.
So other activities, as you can see here, we have fishing. The biggest thing with those things is treating it like if it's close to water, which fishing always occurs close to water, they should be wearing a life jacket also. If you get distracted doing something else and they fall in or they get pulled in by, God forbid, an actual fish or a turtle or whatever it ends up being, then they need to be able to stay upright and not sink. So always wearing a life jacket when fishing. Road trips are really common in the summer, and just making sure everybody's in the right car seat. This is our 7-year-old in a 5-point harness who, to the detriment, is still in it at almost 9 years old, and she's so close. But it's just one of those things that she's going to stay in until she's really the right size to get out of. But making sure everybody stays in the right car seat. It's difficult sometimes on long trips because kids get really cranky. But try to provide as much entertainment and snacks as you can, and sometimes that'll get you through.
That's right. Yeah, and so camping is a pretty big part of outdoor life in Arkansas, and lots of considerations to make with camping. But one of them is fire safety. And just making sure the kids have an appropriate amount of respect for fire. Also, again, not leaving them unattended anywhere near a campfire. Trips and falls into the fire are the most common cause for those fire-related injuries. But smoke inhalation can make kids sick. So making sure that they know to move if they're downwind of the smoke. And also, kids love to roast marshmallows and those sorts of things. A flaming hot marshmallow flung, onto the skin can lead to some pretty significant burns. So, just being extra cautious and stuff, and not taking it too lightly, and making sure that you have a clear path all the way around the fire, so that there aren't any tripping hazards and things like that near the open flames, is one way to help ensure that safety, and also to help prevent the fire from spreading, which can sometimes happen too. Other considerations, get out there, have fun. Kids need to be outside. They need to stretch those legs. They need to be able to run around. And so I think being outdoors in Arkansas is a treat. I think that we are lucky to be in this part of the country, where we have that opportunity. So get out there this summer, enjoy the time with your kids. Just do it safely, and hopefully then everybody and you won't have any horrible or bad memories from being outside with your kids.